Let's bring up the AL West. Let's look at some of these
Let's
division odds. Let's look at these win totals. I've already hammered it home enough. Like, I just think Trout has got the upside to take him in the end of the first or early second. I just think that's like a perfect start for your draft. So the American League West here, we have the Astros favorite at minus 175. This is from DraftKings. Jose Altuve there on the left, so don't draft him. Win totals 91.5. You got LA here at 4-1, 83.5. Seattle at plus 450 to win the West at 83.5. Texas 18-1, 74.5. And then the A's in there at 30-1 and 70.5 is their win total. So a couple of things I want to say here. I mean, there's no value, obviously, to take the Astros. Like, clearly, this is still a lineup that's going to be one of the better lineups. They don't strike out a ton. They did lose Carlos Correa. You got Yuli Gurriel, who's a little bit older. Michael Brantley, who's a little bit older. There's some guys who are aging in this lineup. Jose Altuve is one of them as well. But they still, like, have a lot to offer offensively with some kids like Tucker. We talked in that last segment. This is going to be a team that really makes a lot of contact. They can hit lefties. They can hit righties. I think my issue with them is the bullpen. And they are honestly getting a little older. What if just Altuve just straight up falls off this year, or he deals with an injury, or Gurriel, who's pushing 40, is the bat is not as as sharp as what it was last year and the year prior. Verlander is pushing 40. He's getting a little bit older. How much more does he have left to offer? The rotation's got some issues right now. Lance McCullers is hurt. It's a guy who's been unable to stay healthy. I'll let you touch on the Astros first. We go a little bit deeper. How do you feel about this Houston team?
Yeah, I think they're deservingly the favorite. Honestly, Verlander looked good in spring training, and yeah, there's somewhat concerns in the bullpen, but they still have Ryan Stanek, who's one of the underrated arms, coming over from Tampa during their World Series run. They signed Hector Neris, who is susceptible to, crashing and burning late into games, which will hurt you, coming from the Phillies. But I like Ryan Presley. And the thing is, the back end of their starters, they're going to be asked to start in, Luis Garcia and guys like that end up kind of coming out of the bullpen come playoff time. They did, but they could also start. So they have like these flex guys at the back of their, rotation that could end up helping that bullpen if certain things go their way. But they're going to have to be starters because, no Lance McCullers. But I think Verlander's the key here. He's looked good. If you can get any part of vintage Verlander, the Cy Young winner, it's it's a wrap, right? I mean, forget it. This lineup's insane. But when you look at that, the thing that jumps out to me about the Angels is that this is my question to you, when are they going to not only just put it together, but meaning they haven't finished better than fourth since 2017. That's the stat I wanted to give to you. They haven't finished better than fourth. How and why? And, they haven't been good since Ohtani's been there. And, I told you this last night. It stuck with me. You saying that I haven't seen two guys in Trout and Ohtani getting taken in drafts at this point in time, and the team just hasn't been good. Like, you have those two guys. There's no way you can finish fourth in the AL West again. Maybe they end up, like in 2017 when the Astros won 100 games and they finished second. Like, maybe it is that way. But the point is, at the value at 4-1, I think they got a shot. They know it's Syndergaard to do well. You have Iglesias in the back end. You have a closer. Aaron Loop is someone you took from the Mets who, had a sneaky low ERA last year, a good lefty arm. Like, you've done some things. And if Ohtani, with the new Ohtani rule, ends up becoming this, unbreakable guy, the human cheat code where maybe they start taking him out of baseball games, video games like Barry Bonds, which I think is probably possible at this point. It's like, why is this team? Convince me this team won't be good. Like, they'll at least be a wild card team. I know we're talking divisions, but it's like, it makes no sense for me to take a minus 175 favorite in a division, futures bet. It doesn't make sense. I'd rather the Astros take the chance of them starting slow. And maybe get value later. But I think the Angels have a good line here at 4-1. I really do.
And again, those who know me know I love this Halos team. I mean, you're watching the show, you see it right there. I mean, we're right here at Angel Stadium, apparently, right? Thanks to George.
Yeah, we're there.
We're there. We're knocking on the door, wondering what the heck's going on with this team. I have never felt better about them, honestly. The one year that they made the playoffs, they had a rotation. They were the best offense in baseball. They got bounced in 3 games by the eventual World Series champs. Actually, I don't know. Kansas City went to the World Series. I think they lost that year, and then they won the following year.
Right.
But that's the only year that they've made it. But the reason that since 2017, fourth or whatever, is the rotation and the bullpen, and of course
Mhm.
some of the injuries. Rendon has given them nothing since he's been over. When Ohtani came over, there was spurts, but then he had Tommy John and he missed some time. Trout has missed some time, but now they got some pieces. Walsh, I think, is a nice bat. He
Yep.
may regress a little bit, but you put him in that lineup. Then you got some of these kids that, I've been waiting to see, and Brennan Marsh and Joe Adell. And Adell has had a great start to the spring. Very small sample size last year playing in September, but he cut his strikeouts down. He certainly has some pop, and he was one of the better prospects in baseball, 2 or 3 years ago, but, striking out a ton. He looks like he's starting to put it together as well. You mentioned David Fletcher. So the key clearly is to have Ohtani, Trout, and Rendon healthy. These kids to take the next step. The rotation, I don't expect a whole lot from Syndergaard. Maybe you can touch on him, but if they can give him 100 and some innings, he's really close to making his Angels debut here in spring. We'll see what he has to offer, but it's going to be a 6-man rotation. I think the sneaky guy inside that rotation is Patrick Sandoval. I think if you leave, it's not going to cost you a lot in your draft, but I think he's got some upside and some swing and miss upside that I think you'll like. Reed Detmers was a first-round pick for them a couple years ago that he should be inside the rotation as well as a 6-man rotation. And then you mentioned the bullpen. Bringing back Iglesias, taking Aaron Loop, one of the better lefties last year in baseball. They still have some guys like Mike Myers in there as well. Ryan Tepera is a guy that they grabbed from the White Sox, Archie Bradley. So they've at least tried to address the bullpen, which is something that they really didn't try to do over the last 3 or 4 years. They weren't even really trying, and it was just one of the worst bullpens in all of baseball. I think there's something to be said about the plus 400 because I think that this is a win-now team.
Right.
And if they start off strong, I wouldn't be shocked if they traded one of Marsh or Adell for like a front end rotation guy, Luis Castillo or something. Now, ultimately, I think that would be a bad move to trade a kid for like Luis Castillo. But Tino, there's no question this team is win now. So let's touch on that. But also let's give some love to Seattle because we can bring up this board. I like both of those win totals. I think the Halos and Seattle are 500 teams. It's all we really need them to do is play just a little bit better than 500 ball, and then they get those win totals. And I like the under on Oakland because I think they continue to sell pieces, and I just think that this is probably a 60-win team.
Yeah, absolutely. Under on Oakland, and I'm glad you brought up the win totals because that's basically the best bet I was alluding to. It's like those two lines. I think the line actually speaks wonders to me because of all the steam that the Mariners have been getting. They're plus 450 compared to the Angels, and the Angels are just, still right above them. So I think that speaks to your point of that they're a win now team. And in regards to Seattle, the reason everyone's, enamored by them and deservingly so is that they have all this young talent, and that's great. And I really, really do like it. I'm more concerned about their pitching than the Angels pitching by far. Yeah, they signed Robbie Ray. But the back end of it, they're going to need Logan Gilbert to somehow repeat what he did last year, and that's a big if. And then even then, it's like Marco Gonzalez, Chris Flexen, no thank you. Like Justice Sheffield, like I'm sure Yankee fans could touch on that. Like wait and see for how long. Their bullpen, doesn't really do it for me. The thing is, they have pieces. Their lineup has pieces, and I think Julio Rodriguez is going to come in and set the world on fire, and it's going to be exciting to see him and Bobby Witt Jr. kind of duke it out. I think those are the 2 rookie of the years we got to be looking at. Maybe we can talk about that further. But they have actually a really interesting predicament with these young guys in that they have Kyle Lewis, a rookie of the year a couple years ago. You have Jared Kelenic, who came from, the Metsies himself, who's struggling. And then you have Julio Rodriguez, but you just traded for Winker. You're not taking Mitch Haniger out of the lineup. So they have a lot of these guys in the outfield in a cluster. And I think actually right now, the odd man out, as crazy as it is with all this young talent, is going to be Jared Kelenic because Julio Rodriguez is a center fielder. And right now, they could push, Kelenic over to right and then maybe move Mitch Haniger to DH. But then what happens with Kyle Lewis? He's forgotten about. But then you got to trade one of these guys is my point. Like they have young talent, but now I think the Mariners are in a position to, they'll compete, but they got to start prioritizing this young talent and giving things up to kind of make ends meet with this team because Adam Frazier, good. Their infield is solid. JP Crawford, former top talent, lightning in a bottle last year. Maybe he does it again. Maybe he doesn't. Like they're able to get things going with these trades. And I think they're in the right direction. But if I have to put my money, I'm putting my money on the proven guys and the Angels to just stay healthy. That's the thing. I think the Angels just need to stay healthy, and they'll be there, and they'll be above 500, and they'll compete for that division because I think the Astros will naturally regress because of their injuries. Whereas the Mariners, I think a lot of things have to go
Have to
right
go
again.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and these young guys got to play above their ceilings, and they can. I just think they're a team you want to look forward to in the long term. Whereas this year, maybe they sneak in, and surprise people like last year and compete for that wild card spot. I just can't see them as division winners. And at 450 compared to the Angels, I just rather the 50 cents to a dollar, better on the Angels if I'm putting a bet out there.
And I think we'll see some regression from Robbie Ray. It is a nice division for him. I mean, he's a fly ball pitcher, but it's a good park for him to not be able to give up so many bombs. And also, Flexen's not going to have that same type of season. He's a contact pitcher. He had a lot of luck go his way. I do like Logan Gilbert. I think Gilbert, Sandoval, Christian Javier for the Astros. I think these are all decent, like mid to late round targets as well. So I like the over in Seattle, I like the over in LA, I like the under in Oakland. Let's break. And
one question
and
before we do get out, just real quick. Rangers over under. That's it. That's all I gotta ask. 74.5 over under. That's the one we didn't touch on in them.
I know.
I don't know.
And they've made a lot of moves, right? I mean, they get Seager, they get Semien. I think the over. I think they're like going to be a 77 win team.
Okay, barely, right? Yeah, I
barely.
Can see that. Their pitching is also atrocious, but yeah, you're right. Their offense could win.
Yeah, I think John Gray could bounce back a little bit. He's got this new sweeping pitch, and he's outside of cores. I think he could be okay, but the pitching's got a lot of holes. The bullpen is not great. Yeah, it is a pitcher's park, but yeah, I guess you're right. That's the one team we didn't really touch on here is the team that's made the most noise in the offseason.